Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to make a simple 2-bit memory circuit with a store signal and 2 data signals. You can see that we can store a 1 in either of them, and we can store 1 in both of them, and store a 0 in both of them. Okay, a few things we're going to need for this project is a breadboard, some IC logic gate chips from the 74LS series, two LEDs, four 1K resistors, a battery source. Here I just have a 9-volt battery connected to some wires with electrical tape, 2 push buttons or DIP switches or whatever you like, and a handful of wires. Okay, to start off, I'm just going to specify what type of logic gate chips these are. This is the SN74LS08N. This is a an AND gate logic chip. So that we're gonna need 1 AND gate chip. This is the SN74LS04N. This is a hex inverter, so a NOT gate. And this one is an SN74LS00N, which is a NAND gate, the first one. Okay, so first we're going to take our NAND gate, the SN74LS00N, and we're just going to put it on our breadboard. Next, we can connect both sides to power. So this pin is going to go to voltage, 9 volts, and this is going to go to ground. I'm using a 9-volt battery, but 5 volts also works, and it probably works a lot better. Okay, next we're going to add our 3 buttons for our 2 data pins, and our store signal. So these sides of the buttons, here, here, and here, are all going to be connected to ground. And the other sides, here, here, and here, are going to be connected to voltage. Okay, next we're going to wire up these 2 chips, the NOT gate, and the AND gates. These sides are going to connect to voltage, and these sides are going to connect to ground. Okay, next we're going to connect up the first 2 pins, the store pin and the first data pin, to this AND gate. make sure when you're hooking the wires up to the buttons, you hook them up to the side that the resistor is connected to ground to. Okay, next we're gonna take the output of this AND gate and plug it back into the first input of this NAND gate. Okay, next we're going to take the clock, the store signal from right here, this button, and put it back into another input of this AND gate, and then also take the data input, but invert it, and then put it back into here. So we're going to take the input of this button, and put it into the input of this hex inverter, NOT gate. And we're going to take the output of this NOT gate and put it into the second input of this AND gate. Okay, and then we're going to take the output of this AND gate and put it into the input of this next NAND gate on this chip. Next, we're going to feed the output of this NAND gate into the input of this one, and the input of this one into the output of that one. Okay, before we feed these two inputs into this NAND gate, we need to invert them by sending them through this chip right here. So we have to move these wires back over to here and then put them back in. Okay, then we're going to take the output of these two NOT gates and put them back into this NAND gate. Okay, now we're going to take the output of this NAND gate and feed it to the input of this one, and the output of this NAND gate into the input of this one. Okay, now we're done with the first bit of memory, and we can take an output and put it on to an LED. So we're going to take this line right here and put it through a resistor and then feed it through this LED. Okay, now we can test this out. So now we can hook up our power source to the rails of power on the board and test it out. So when I press the store button, the output remains off. And if I press the data button, the output remains off. But if I press the store button and the data button, Okay, I just went through the circuit again, and the only thing that was bad was my LED. It was just broken and not working. So, the only thing we need to change about this circuit is these two wires, the outputs of these two AND gates on this chip, need to be inverted. So this one needs to go to here, and this one needs to go to here. Okay, now I can try it. So when I press the store button, the output remains off because we're storing a 0 into the circuit. And if I press the data button, the output still remains off because there is no store signal on, so we're not storing a signal into memory. So now, if we press the store button and the data button, the output turns on, and when we let go, the output remains on, since we stored a 1 into the circuit. And if we hit the store button, then the value should turn off, since we are storing a 0. Good. Now, we can just make another one of these circuits to make it 2-bit. So we're going to take the clock signal and put it into the AND gate right here on this input and this input. Okay, now that we have the store signal wired up to the input of these two AND gates, now we can take the input of this button and put it into the input of this AND gate. So now that we've added this input to the input of the AND gate, we can take the output and wire it up to the input of this NOT gate. So now that we've added that up to the input of this NOT gate, we can wire the output up to this NAND gate. Alright. Now that we've wired up this output of this NOT gate to this AND gate, we can go ahead and invert this bit of data for the input, and then put the output of that into the input of this next AND gate with the store signal. So now I can take this output, invert it, and put it into this second NAND gate. So now we can take the output of this inverted bit of the AND gate and put it into this NAND gate. Now we're going to do what we did before up here and take the output of this NAND gate and put it to the input of this NAND gate, and take the output of this one and put it into the input of this one. Now we should be done, and all we need now to do is hook up the output of this one to an LED. So we can take the output of this NAND gate, feed it through a resistor, and put it over here, and then take the positive side of the LED, put it in the same line as it of the resistor, and then connect the other side to ground. There we go. Now it should be working. So we can go ahead and hook up our power source. And so let's just make sure the first one is working first. So pressing both of them does nothing. But when we press them together, the output turns on. So now, and if we hit it again, it turns off. If we just press the second data, nothing should happen. But if we press it with the store button, whoops, sorry, this is the LED that wasn't working, so I need to go change that real quick, but it should be working. Okay, now we can just put it back in how it was and test it. Okay, one small adjustment we need to make is instead of taking the input for this, we need to take, instead of connecting the resistor to the output of this NAND gate, we need to take it and put it into here. Alright, so resetting the whole circuit, we have two blank LEDs, and if we store a 1 in the second data slot, it turns on, and we can store 1 in the other one, it turns on, and we can store 1 in both of them. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.